said I'm crazy about a Mercury. Gonna buy me a Mercury, cruising up and down the road. Look out love, stole it from a friend. Forgot luck, straight me back up again. I'm crazy about a Mercury. Crazy about a Mercury. Crazy about a Mercury. Crazy about a Mercury. Gonna buy me a Mercury, cruising up and down the road. So fine, driving around in your Mercury 49. I said I'm crazy about a Mercury. Crazy about a Mercury. Lord, I'm crazy about a Mercury. Wanna buy me a Mercury, up and down the road. Here we go.
How far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you want to go.
Oh, let me think here for a moment. Okay, I met Alan at recess one day at Dufferin Heights. We were both in grade 7, and he asked me if I wanted to be in a band. Well, I didn't really play an instrument at the time. I was taking piano lessons. So we thought, well, I'll play keyboards. And so I came into a session with him and Michael, and we wound up forming the Unsociables.
The rest is history, as
The rest is history. The rest is history.
Well, music has always been my life. I don't know where I'd be today without music. My mom used to go to a woman downtown Toronto somewhere, I think it was on Westmoreland Avenue, who was her hairdresser, and this woman, she conducted her business out of her home. And being as young as I was, I was quite advanced, but I hadn't developed how to walk yet. So my mom used to have to take me in an old-fashioned type of stroller down there by bus, and we'd walk. And I remember this vividly, even at the young age of a week or two. And when we'd get there, she wouldn't have any place to put me because this woman was a great hairdresser, but when it came to washing hair, she spritzed water everywhere. And my mom was really worried about it, especially when she was washing out perms. I had a beautiful complexion at that time, and my mom was really worried about, any of this perm solution burning my face. So she would take me and put me back in my stroller, and she'd move me into this private room, which was a music room for the hairdresser's son. And he was a classical violinist. And at the age of 4 and a half, actually it was Christmas time, just around this time of year, he said, he's been listening to me play, sitting here and lying here in his stroller for 4 or 5 years now, and I think he's got a musical ear because every time he cries in tune. It's absolutely amazing. This guy was at the time 12, 13 years old. He said, I think I could teach him how to play classical violin. And I started playing classical violin in the late 50s. And when I turned 13, the age of manhood for Judaism, my dad said to me, we want to buy you something special, and what would you like? And I said, gee, this is the age of rock and roll, and I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I love Paul McCartney. I want a bass. Alan was invited out to a party this one Friday night, and he politely apologized, saying that he couldn't make it to the party because he was practicing with his band, his 13-year-old boy band. And the girl that had invited him said, well, why don't you bring the band with and you guys can practice here? And we said, okay, why not? And when we got there was maybe 4 or 5 people, and we sat down and we set up, which at that time wasn't very difficult. I mean, I'm walking around with a bass guitar with no amplifier, and Alan's only got this little pad, and Sheldon's got this little squeeze box. And the entire night, nobody listened to us, and nobody came to us, and we were just so unsociable that that's where the name came from. Nobody wanted to deal with us. But that also put this fire in our belly that said, hey, we got something good here. Alan's dad figured, well, maybe I can make some money off these guys, and I'll drive them around. We were very appreciative of Jack driving us around, and, you know, being 13, we didn't know much about business and stuff like that, and he was really the one that got us off the ground. He used to enter us into all kinds of band contests, and we'd be winning left, right, and center.
And that was Jack.
That was
Jack Gelman, Al's dad.
Alan's dad, Jack Gelman.
19, well, we left the band at different times. First, Alan left because there was this conflict over, I think it's whether or not we were receiving money, and there was allegations that Jack's father, Alan's father, Jack, was absconding with funds. So,
Really?
So the
scandal.
Spaghetts pulled the bass player out. Was absconding with funds.
I put it through my company.
Maybe I can make some money off these guys.
I forced it upon myself.
Was absconding with funds.
I'll drive them around.
I forced it upon myself.
Maybe I can make some money off these guys.
I put it through my company.
Was absconding with funds.
Maybe I can make some money off these guys.
Was absconding with funds.
I put it through my company.
I'll drive them around.
I forced it upon myself.
Maybe I can make some money off these guys.
Okay, I understand that you were the group's first manager, and you were also their booking agent. How
Yes.
did you get that job?
I forced it upon myself.
How was that?
Well, nobody else could do it. None of the parents would volunteer.
Uh-huh.
They couldn't drive.
Right.
The kids couldn't drive. And not only that, I was also the road rat.
So I guess this would be the world's first boy band, so to speak.
Yes.
So they weren't old enough to drive?
No, definitely not.
And you drove everybody around in your car?
Yes.
And how did the wear and tear wise, did the car hold up or what?
No. The rear end transmission went.
Uh-huh.
We went out and bought a trailer.
Yes.
I put it through my company.
Uh-huh.
The kids didn't have to pay for it. And we went on and up there. We bought the trailer because we had a sound system.
Oh, we had
a lighting system.
lots of gear, eh?
Yes, but I remember Alan used to do everything. First of all, he put the lights up.
Right.
Then he'd do the sound system.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would rehearse for a few minutes before they would start.
It reminds me, though, we did once play a gig many, many years ago at the Downtown Y here in Toronto, and it was for the Golden Age Club, okay? And those people are all gone now, unfortunately, because they were 85 at the time, and that was 40 years ago. I'm a drummer, sorry, my math sucks. They would all be in the, they're gone.
I once brought out two go-go dancers.
Yes.
And they were pretty good, as a matter of fact.
Uh-huh.
But I had to look after them.
Of course.
They were Gelman and Grossman. It was my daughter and her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they were 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But when they got into the cage, when they were up on the stage there, they looked like they were 18 and 19 years old.
Well, you know, we went through the whole gamut, starting out early in a time of the 60s where everybody was doing rock and roll. We tried a little bit different styling. We tried doing some electric mambo, and we tried doing some electric cha-cha and box step, and it just didn't seem to connect. But when we hit on this special thing, this as you call it, this noodle music, it really made us all feel good. And we said, this is the route we got to go.
Late 60s, 68, 69. I think that's, you know, I mean, who can forget, you know, the Spaghet flip. I remember that. The Spaghet flip, we called it.
I was floating through the desert one day, and and I hear this van coming towards me, just blasting this phenomenal music. It's a combination of just about anything I've ever heard. Sly and the Family Stone, Osa Bisa, Debbie Boone. I mean, it's eclectic beyond eclectic. Alan was there, the drummer. This guy was like so unbelievably soulful. He just sucked me into the music. Michael was there, and he was, I think, selling T-shirts out of the back of the van and just doing a bang-up business. I mean, just rolling in dough. And Sheldon was some kind of this, Buddha-like figure.
And Sheldon Robinson. I mean, the Robinson Trill. You mean, yeah, remember he used to do this thing on the keyboard. It was like, I mean, it was not to be believed.
I've got my trill back.
You've got the Robinson Trill.
Do you know how that evolved?
No.
Yeah,
Tell us about the Robinson Trill.
Actually, it's a very interesting story. Alan sort of fashioned himself after a kind of Keith Moon. I guess for some of the younger kids in the crowd, if you saw Animal, one of the Muppet characters, he's kind of the drummer. He goes wild on the drums. Now, Alan had this propensity to get so worked up when I would hit a solo that the drumsticks would actually fly out of his hand. I was hospitalized for a week after one event, and that's when the slide came in. Because I found that as I went for a solo, if I slid up the keyboards and held my hand out, I could catch the stick.
That must have been an amazing thing to see. That must have been a sight to behold. It really must have been a sight to behold.
I remember playing one time, we wound up playing this old folks home, and this woman, 85 years old, actually saw this and watched me. A fan, and grabbed the stick, and she had a heart attack right there.
No way.
She couldn't handle it. Hit the floor, the doctors came out, we still continued to play.
When they were in a big hall,
yes,
they could play loud, and it would absorb.
Right.
But sometimes they played in a little room, and they put up the same sound, the same system, the same height, and you had to walk out of there. You couldn't take it.
But so it bothered your ears. What did you used to tell them?
To cut down on the noise. It wasn't music already, it was noise.
Oh, wow. All right. So you love the boys in the band, but sometimes the music was a little bit too loud.
Way too loud.
Well, then I wound up leaving the band.
Was it artistic differences?
No, it was scholastic differences. My parents felt that my school grades just weren't up to snuff. So they thought the best thing to do was to remove my organ, which they did, and sentenced me to 3 years at a boarding school. And so I was sent off. It was sort of like a gulag thing. I was sent off to the gulag, and I never saw the guys again. Never.
Since it costs a lot to win and even more to lose, you and me better spend some time wondering what to choose. Goes to show, don't ever know. Watch it hard to play it slow. Don't you let that feel go down.
I was in my hygienist's chair. I was in my dentist hygienist chair. Lillian, her name's Lillian.
Lillian?
Lillian.
That's my mother's name.
And Lillian grew up in Bathurst Manor. That was the area that we all grew up in. And she knew I was one of the Unsociables. And she said to me, you know, I treat another one of the Unsociables, Michael Spagan. And I said, well, too many bad memories. I really don't want to go back there and visit. It was very painful, loss of an organ, sentenced to private school. So one of the things that happens to me, I love gas. I love it when they gas me. If they drill a tooth, I love the gas. If they clean my teeth, I love the gas. So Lillian
couldn't tell. I couldn't tell.
You couldn't?
No, I couldn't. No.
So Lillian used an incredible amount of gas that day, and while I was in the chair, she called Michael up to tell him I was gassed and in the chair. So Michael came by, and before I knew it, I was looking at pictures. I thought I was hallucinating. I think they had the gas setting to a number 9. I thought I was hallucinating. Anyways, I was having this whole conversation with Michael, and Michael said, come on, we'll reunite. And then we got back together.
Okay.
¿Qué más puedo decir de Alan Gilman? Alan Gilman, un hombre súper interesante. Hablas con él y el mundo se cae, realmente. No, y les gusta el smoked meat, el pastrami, y tengo que mencionar de nuevo el armadillo. Por alguna razón tengo que decirlo otra vez. Ahora, si quieren hablar de los Unsociables, como yo, también está Baked Goods.
Well, I used to be a huge groupie of the Zone, biggest groupie, and when they fell apart I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. So my grandmother told me about this band that she's been following forever, and I have to say that I'm now their biggest fan. I mean, it's been so long that I've listened to them, and I've gone to all of their shows, and it's just been 12 or 13 hours that I've been their fan and I've known about them. And it's funny because the drummer from the Zone, through marriage, is related to one of those guys, and they're great.
And tell me, one thing that you know, when you think in terms of the Zone and this new band, the Unsociables, Baked Goods, what's the one word that sticks out in your mind that
One word only?
that sort of, yeah, that sort of
I'd
links
have
it
to
to
say armadillo.
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 Basically, when I first heard the Unsociables, it was on I was out with a couple of friends and I heard them, but I was a little young to recognize a lot of the music, but I remember at a young age my father would always talk about them, and my mother would tell me that's how she met my dad at a Unsociables concert.
What impresses you most about this new project?
The name.
Anyways, Alan came and asked us if we would like to join up or participate in an Unsociables reunion. Now, I personally have been a big fan of the Unsociables, specifically their early work.
I just want to say it's just a privilege to be playing with these guys because they're just on fire.
Oh yeah, I have been a big follower of the Unsociables since I was 5 years old in 1969, and I've always been a big fan. I like their music, and so it's been a big surprise that I heard they're coming back together, and I'm looking forward to their big performance in 2011.
Did you know I played in a marching band too? Is that
Oh, I didn't know that. No, is that? Oh, so there
I
your
was
roots
in
are
the
marching
General
band.
Wingate drum and bugle band, as a matter of fact. Which is why you still do the traditional hand holding fashion for sticks, eh?
Oh, can we see that? Let's see
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
like
hand.
this.
Let's see. Let's see.
There's one hand.
Yeah.
There's the other.
Oh, fascinating.
So yeah, it's been great. We've got some brand new music, and it's been a tremendous thing where Jack has brought in his favorite kind of music too, which, funny, predates you, Phil.
I know.
I mean, you were still a glint in your dad's eye, so to speak, when those songs were famous.
Do you think it's because we eat these baked goods that I'm like the way I am?
After you.
You.
Congratulations, you just made your first #1.